This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
اغتيل وزير الصناعة والنائب اللبناني بيير أمين جميل الذي ينتمي إلى الأغلبية النيابية.
QatarAmin Gemayel, Lebanon's industry minister and a supporter of the parliamentary majority, was assassinated in Beirut's northern suburb. Gemayel sustained serious injuries and was rushed to a nearby hospital, but later died of multiple gunshot wounds. He was the first political figure killed since the assassination of the Lebanese parliament member Gibran Twaini on December 12, 2005. Saad Hariri, the head of the parliamentary majority, interrupted a televised press conference after hearing that Gemayel had been shot. Hariri accused Syria of the assassination, saying that they started the episodes of assassinations they had promised. The 34-year-old Pierre Gemayel was the grandson of Pierre Gemayel Sr., the founder of the Christian Phalange Party, and the son of Amin Gemayel, a former Lebanese president and currently the head of the Lebanese Christian militia. Bashir Gemayel, Pierre Jr.'s uncle, was elected president in 1983, but was assassinated before taking office.
أيضا في انفجار عام 82 قبل تسلمه سدة الرئاسة. معي الآن من بيروت.
We're now joined from Beirut by Sheikh Mohammed Ali Al-Jouzo, the Grand Mufti of Jabal Lebanon. Sheikh Al-Jouzo, what is your interpretation of the assassination of Lebanon's industry minister Pierre Gemayel?
صناعة بيير جميل.
هذه سلسلة منظمة تنظيما كاملا.
This is an ongoing, organized, and premeditated plan to assassinate and hijack the identity of Lebanon. They do not want Lebanon to stand on its feet and free itself from influences. Since the assassination of the former Lebanese Prime Minister Rafiq Hariri, we have been facing a big conspiracy that wants to bring Lebanon into peril. What is happening now is a continuation of this conspiracy, which started on the day Hariri was assassinated.
Who started this conspiracy?
الذي قتل الحريري هو الذي قتل الآن بيير جميل. نفس الجهة التي
Everyone knows who started it. Whoever killed Hariri was the one who killed Pierre Gemayel. Those who assassinated Gemayel want to finish the job because they want Lebanon to fall under their control. They are working in conjunction with their followers in Lebanon to wreak havoc in the country. They do not want Lebanon to be free and stable. In addition, they want to fuel sectarian strife between Muslims and Christians. After the withdrawal of Syrian troops from Lebanon, and as the Lebanese started to come closer together, a third party began stirring problems between them. It is a big conspiracy against the entire country. They do not want the Lebanese to agree and establish their free and independent state. We should not keep jumping to conclusions and blaming one particular group for these crimes. Those accusing the majority of being behind the assassination of Gemayel ought to be ashamed of themselves. They are deceiving the people by these politically motivated lies.
ولكن سيد المفتي هم رسموا علامات استفهام على
The former president of Lebanon, Amin Gemayel, is in the middle of the crowds outside of Mar Joseph Church. He is about to make a statement to the people around him.
أعجز من أنه أتكلم أمام المأساة الكبيرة.
I am speechless because of this great tragedy. I can sum up what I need to say in few words. My brother Bashir Gemayel was martyred for a cause.
أمين أسود ابن أختي استشهد في سبيل قضية. مايا ابن بشير
My nephew, Amin Aswad, was also martyred for a cause. My niece, Maya Gemayel, was also martyred for a cause. And Manuel Gemayel was also martyred for a cause. Today, my son, Pierre Gemayel, was martyred for a cause.
يحافظوا على القضية. ما بدنا نتصرف بشكل غرائزي. بيير كان عم يخدم قضية واستشهد في سبيلها، في سبيل لبنان.
I ask from all the people who loved Pierre not to do anything that may hurt this cause. We should not let our instincts drive us. Pierre was serving a cause and he was martyred for the same cause, for Lebanon, for freedom and humanity.
من كل اللي بيقدسوا القضية اللي من أجلها استشهد بيير. عندي تمني واحد من الجميع تكون الليلة ليلة صلاة.
We do not want to desecrate his martyrdom by acting through impulse and doing irresponsible actions. I hope that all those who loved Pierre and all those who cherish the cause that Pierre died for, to honor my only wish, to make tonight a night of prayers. Tonight we should think about the significance of martyrdom and how we are going to protect the country away from emotions and vengeance. We do not want revenge. We want the Lebanese cause to prevail. I call on all those who love Pierre and all those who appreciated the martyrdom of Pierre to honor the cause and the significance of this martyrdom. We all should sincerely work together for the sake of Lebanon. I repeat my call. We do not want emotional reactions and we do not want revenge. By tomorrow, we will have a position. Everything will be motivated by serving the Lebanese cause, freedom and humanity. This is what we want.
كل شيء بدنا نقوم فيه يكون يخدم القضية اللبنانية، قضية الحرية والقضية الإنسان في لبنان. هذا اللي بدنا إياه.
إذا وصل بهالأثناء وليد بيك جنبلاط.
Druze leader Walid Jumblat has just arrived to give his condolences to the family of Gemayel. This comes as the former president had asked the people for calm and to make tonight a night of prayers. Dear audience, we're outside the Mar Joseph Church as Parliament member Walid Jumblat is arriving. He is now talking with former President Amin Gemayel.
الرئيس أمين جميل.
قال الأمين العام لحزب الله حسن نصر الله.
The Secretary General of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, said there are two options for ending the political crisis in Lebanon. They are to form a national unity government or to hold early elections. Nasrallah called on his followers to go into the streets with the objective of toppling the Senora government, which he labels as the government of the American ambassador in Beirut. In response, the Druze leader Walid Jumblat accused the pro-Syria group of preparing for a coup in Lebanon.
Just as I promised you victory and followed through, now I renew my promise. These were the words of the Secretary General of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, who believes it has come to the 0 hour for public action, demanding an inclusive national unity government, independent from all foreign influences. Nasrallah responded to the accusations made against him, which include trying to hinder the International Tribunal to prosecute Hariri's assassins, attempting to create a special state for himself, devoting Hezbollah's maneuvers to serve the Iranian nuclear file, providing the link needed to complete the Shiite crescent, and foiling the political gains which the Ta'if agreement granted to the Sunnis. Nasrallah said that this is a fateful time and cannot be burdened by superficial comments. He called on the opposition to prepare itself psychologically and emotionally because the call for public action will soon be made. He warned against being pulled into verbal attacks, disturbances, and clashes.
We fall down, we get up, and then we fall down again. All options are open. 1, 2 or 3 days, 1 week, 2, 3. More or less, there is no problem. We want to force the illegitimate and unconstitutional government to collapse through our peaceful, modern, and democratic means. It is the government of Ambassador Wildman, not the government of President Fouad Siniora.
For his part, the head of the Democratic meeting, Representative Walid Jumblat, strongly attacked the minority forces, accusing them of preparing a coup. He warned against the maneuvers that they have been preparing, which may take place this week in the streets and which may coincide with the mass resignation of public employees, parliament members, and others.
We are part of the constructive heritage of Kemal Jumblat and the heritage of Rafiq al-Hariri in construction, building, and charity. We will not be the instigators of any internal chaos. They want riots, they want to derail the process, and they want to impoverish the country. They want to control the country through a coup. We and the March 14th Alliance will study the most suitable response. But our response will be as it has always been. Even during the peak of the Syrian military and intelligence control over Lebanon, it will be peaceful, civilized, and classy.
Quarrels continued. The Maronite Patriarch, RevengeLBC Boutros Esfer, warned economic agencies from imminent bankruptcy and emphasized the need to ignore differences for the sake of the homeland. Meanwhile, the Deputy Chief of the Lebanese Forces, George Adwan, expressed hope that Michel Aoun would fulfill his promise soon and that he will succeed in toppling the government as he previously called for. The crisis in Lebanon may soon explode. The escalating positions by the two sides of the conflict have become clearer. Now, the streets will decide between them.
Two
Palestinians were martyred and 3 others were injured by Israeli gunfire in the Zaytun neighborhood east of Gaza City. 2 Israelis were wounded by gunfire from Palestinian fighters in Beit Hanun in the northern Gaza Strip, and 2 others were severely injured from a number of missiles that struck the village of Sderot in southern Israel.
This is what the Israeli military machines left behind in what is called a limited military operation in the Zaytun neighborhood east of the Gaza Strip. Large swaths of agricultural lands were bulldozed, many homes were demolished, and 2 people were martyred. They were Sayyid Muthanna and Ayman Hassanein from the Qassam brigades.
Soldiers came on foot and destroyed everything. They closed off the whole area. Tanks came to this entire area. They started yelling at us through their loudspeakers saying, "Get out, get out. We will do to you what we did to Beit Hanun. Come out, Ayman, and come out, Ibrahim. Come out, Ayman, and come out, Ibrahim." We did not come out. We were afraid of them, so we did not come out. They sprayed us with bullets. As you can see, they destroyed our homes and passed through here. Then the fighters came out, and there were clashes between them.
The Israeli army confirmed that it will continue to carry out similar operations, which it described as limited, in order to stop the firing of missiles at Israeli targets. Resistance factions confirmed that these Israeli operations will not stop the resistance and that Israel will not succeed in achieving a ceasefire or a cooling-off period at no cost.
We came here to present an initiative to stop the firing of missiles on Sderot. This initiative states that the residents of Sderot must immediately leave this stolen land. We have previously warned them that the efforts of the enemy military leadership will fail and that it is lying and deceiving them. It is lying to them by saying that these incursions are aimed at preventing missile strikes. We are saying that the Qassam missiles will continue launching.
فالمقاومة الفلسطينية أكدت استمرارها بإطلاق صواريخها المصنعة محليا.
The Palestinian resistance confirmed that it will continue to launch homemade missiles from Gaza towards Israeli targets. The latest missile strike caused many injuries among Israelis and set fire to a building in the industrial area in the village of Sderot, north of the Gaza Strip. The Palestinian factions confirm that the resistance will continue. The Israeli army confirms that the military operations will continue. Palestinian and Israeli political observers say that the current cycle of violence will not end unless a political resolution is reached. Hiba Aqila, Al Jazeera, from the Zaytun neighborhood east of Gaza City.
مخرجا وحيدا للوضع القائم. هبة عقيلة، الجزيرة، من حي الزيتون شرقي مدينة غزة.
وقد أعربت اللجنة الدولية للصليب الأحمر عن قلقها البالغ إزاء انقطاع
The International Red Crescent expressed its concern about the decision to cut off essential health services to Palestinian residents in the West Bank. In a statement, the organization said that the international community's decision to stop financing the Palestinian Authority since the beginning of the year had a catastrophic effect on medical services despite the efforts of donors to support the health sector. It stated that the situation has deteriorated with the expansion of the general strike to government hospitals.
في المستشفيات الحكومية.
Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad said today that Israel had too many problems and was incapable of launching a military attack on Iran's nuclear sites. Meanwhile, U.S. President George W. Bush said he would understand if Israel did conduct a preemptive strike. More on that story from Yochanan El-Ram.
Iran has developed and tested a fuse for nuclear weapons. This according to a report published today in the American weekly journal New Yorker. Magazine claims the information was passed to the White House by Israeli agents deployed in the hardline Islamic country. In a related development, Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad said Tehran wants to install 100,000 centrifuges for enriching uranium, a key step in the manufacture of atomic bombs. In addition, French government officials told Israeli leaders recently that Paris believed Iran would reach the point of no return in its nuclear program by the spring of 2007. Meanwhile, U.S. President George Bush said a military strike against Iranian nuclear facilities by Israel should not be ruled out. And if such an attack were to occur, he would understand the reason behind the action. Iranian boast of wiping Israel off the map also drew the attention of Jewish leaders attending the General Assembly of the United Jewish Communities of North America, meeting in Los Angeles last week.
Unlike our grandparents' generation, we live in a time where those who would target Jews are answerable to the Jewish army. They are answerable to the Jewish state, and they are answerable to all of us and the people in this room.
Tens of thousands of Ethiopian Israelis from across the country made their way to the Armon HaNatzif promenade in the capital to celebrate the annual Sigd holiday. A number of Kesim, or spiritual leaders from the Ethiopian Israeli community, presided over the event. The Sigd holiday symbolizes the longing of the Ethiopian Jewish community for Zion, their connection to Jerusalem, and their commitment to Jewish unity. Following afternoon prayers and the blowing of the shofar, participants ended the holiday with a festive meal. The largest archive of Nazi-era documents has been under lock and key in Germany for the past 61 years. But survivors and families of Holocaust victims will soon have access to those files, which could perhaps provide information on relatives they never knew. IBA's Eli Wogelenter has that story.
The archive, some 16 miles of files, is being held by the International Red Cross at its International Tracing Service facility in central Germany, located 150 miles from Buchenwald. The files contain information on forced labor camps, evacuation from Soviet-controlled areas, internment in concentration camps, deportation lists, death books, records of medical experiments, concentration or labor camp registrations, ghetto records, and displaced persons files. Among the names on a list of Jews deported from Holland, for example, is that of Anne Frank, including her date of birth, her Amsterdam address before she went into hiding, and the date she was sent to a concentration camp. The files contained in these 6 buildings are unquestionably the largest archive of Nazi documentation available anywhere. And while the mandate of the Tracing Center has been to help find missing persons and help families reunite, their concern over the privacy of victims has kept the files closed to the general public for half a century. Only minimal information has been given out to survivors or their descendants on a strict need-to-know basis. Indeed, the Tracing Center would not even allow the names of Jews on this list to be filmed, only their occupation. This archival document, in fact, is Schindler's List. But the Red Cross's privacy policy which has generated much ill feeling among Holocaust survivors and researchers, is about to change. In May, after years of pressure from the United States and survivor groups, the 11 countries that oversee the archive agreed to unseal the files for scholars as well as victims and their families. Abe Cooper, Associate Dean of the Simon Wiesenthal Center, says opening the files to a wider audience will allow many more family members of Shoah victims to connect with their lost relatives.
What was amazing to me was to see grandchildren, or sometimes children, say, wait a second, that's my grandfather or my father's signature. We don't have anything like that, and you know what? It looks like mine. So never mind the fact that it was a Nazi form, right, that had to be filled out. That wasn't important. Some semblance, some proof to the generation following that it actually had lived, in some ways is more important than even the details that are written down there.
The 11 countries overseeing the archives, Belgium, France, Germany, Greece, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Poland, the United Kingdom, the United States, and Israel, have agreed to allow one electronic copy of the archive be given to each country. But that is not expected to happen until after a legal process is completed in each country, expected next year. And while there will probably not be any groundbreaking revelations about the Holocaust, little-known details are sure to shed new light on various aspects of the Nazis' so-called final solution, as well as on its victims. Eli Wogelanter, IBA News.
General Niccolo Punari, the director of the Italian Military Intelligence Agency, was fired after he was indicted on charges stemming from his role in the kidnapping of an Egyptian Muslim imam by the United States Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, in Milan. Italian prosecutors in Milan have indicted 26 CIA agents for their role in the abductions of the Muslim imam Abu Omar al-Masri. Rifat al-Najjar reports.
General Niccolo Polari, the director of the Italian Military Intelligence Agency, also known as CISM or 007, and several of his high-ranking staff were fired after they were indicted on kidnapping charges of a Muslim clerk in Milan. The spy agency has been under scrutiny by the Italian government, prompting the investigation into the kidnapping incident.
The Milan District Attorney's Office has revealed that several senior spy agents from the Italian Military Intelligence Agency were involved in the kidnapping of the Muslim Imam Abu Omar al-Masri.
According to Italian newspapers, several CIA and Italian spy agents were implicated in al-Masri case. The investigation revealed that al-Masri was abducted in Milan and later deported to his native country, Egypt. The spy agents were also implicated on bribery charges by offering 2 million euros to al-Masri in an exchange for his testimony. Al-Masri was asked to sign an affidavit clearing the CIA of any wrongdoing and that he had willingly surrendered and was not kidnapped. If al-Masri had accepted the deal, the court would have dropped the case and dismissed all charges against the two spy agencies.
In mid-September, an Egyptian security officer visited Abu Omar in prison and offered him 2 million euros in exchange for his testimony to say that he was not kidnapped by the CIA, but that he gave himself up willingly.
The US and the European Union signed on November 7, 2006 an agreement to fight crimes across international borders. However, it remains to be seen whether the presiding judges in al-Masri's case will be able to make reference to this agreement in order to bring the indicted 26 US spy agents to justice.
Following the demise of Ayatollah Mirza Javad Tabrizi, a top Shiite cleric and source of emulation, the Iranian government has declared Wednesday a day of national mourning. Leader of the Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, in a message expressed condolences to the Iranian nation, religious scholars and seminary schools over the demise of the late cleric. Ayatollah Tabrizi, who has passed away at the age of 80, trained thousands of Muslim seminary students during his lifetime. Islamic Revolution leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei told visiting Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe on Tuesday the praiseworthy resistance of the Zimbabwean nation in the face of mounting pressures by colonial powers is the right road to defying world bullying powers whose insatiate desire for expansionism sees no end even when faced with leniency and flexibility on the part of nations. The leader said big powers are still trying to impose their divisive tactics to take the fate of nations into their hands, but the ill-fated enemy efforts to wage war, stir up fractures among countries, slap economic sanctions and resort to security measures and political pressures have all met with stiff resistance by independent nations. United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan, who was speaking to a news conference in Geneva, said he has urged Iran and Syria to be, quote, part of the solution in Iraq and help the Baghdad government end sectarian fighting.
An Iraq at peace is in the interest of all the countries, including Syria and Iran. And so I would urge them to use their influence and to do whatever they can to pacify to help pacify Iraq. I have always maintained that one should engage them and that they should be part of the solution. And I sat with both leaders and discussed these issues with them. And in fact, only 3 days ago, I was on the phone with President Assad and President Ahmadinejad about the situation in Lebanon and the need for them to work with me and with us to stabilize, to push for stability in Lebanon and the unity of the Lebanese people. The U.S. in a way is trapped in Iraq, trapped in the sense that it cannot stay and it cannot leave. There are those who maintain that its presence is a problem.
This comes as Iraq and Syria have agreed to restore full diplomatic relations after a break of a quarter of a century, a move Iraq hopes may help stem what it says is Syrian support from militants. Syrian Foreign Minister Walid al-Mu'allam, making the first visit by a Syrian minister to Iraq since the U.S.-led invasion in 2003, signed an accord with Iraqi counterpart Hoshyar Zebari in which they agreed U.S. troops should stay in Iraq for now. Meanwhile, Iraqi President Jalal Talabani is to fly to Tehran and also visit Damascus soon. Iran is warning that decisions by IAEA's technical committee seem to have political motives. Iran's envoy to the UN nuclear agency, Ali Asghar Soltani, said on Tuesday politically biased attitude of the committee will undermine its role in the agency's decision-making. He further said Iran's item wouldn't be sent to the full board of IAEA's governors if Iran were a non-member of the agency, adding if so, no resolution would be released on Iran, nor would inspections of Iran's nuclear sites be conducted at short notice. The Iranian nuclear negotiators said the Atomic Energy Organization has decided to pursue construction of reactors to meet a growing domestic demand for life-saving medical radioisotopes. And the U.S. has gone the extra mile to impede an IAEA drive to provide Iran with assistance it needs to complete Arak nuclear power plant, which is due to be up and running by 2009. But experts believe Iranian scientists have mastered the technology in a way that the absence of such aid fails to put a damper on Tehran's bid to complete its facility in Arak, which is a heavy water power plant for producing medical isotopes. Meanwhile, the New York Times on Monday reported Washington and its allies want the UN nuclear agency to turn down Iran's appeal. The IAEA has allocated $100 million for plans as such in the current year. This comes as Washington has repeatedly announced Iranians have no right to employ nuclear technology as it tries to bar Iranian students from studying majors related to modern technologies.
The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. Please visit linktv.org/Mosaic for more information about these broadcasters or to view previous Mosaic programs, obtain program transcripts, or receive the weekly Mosaic Intelligence Report. Mosaic is made possible by a grant from the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation. Additional support is provided by the Feyerdahl Foundation, the Otto Haas Charitable Trust, and by committed Link TV viewers like you. If you value this program, please send your tax-deductible contribution to Link TV, either through the website or the mailing address listed on your screen. This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs. Programs which connect you to the world.